Here are the answers for the day 4 Bellwork. Write a balanced chemical equation for each reaction. Hint, you first have to write the skeleton equation, and then you can do the coefficients. Now, I have already typed in the skeleton equations in the process of making this answer key video, but for you, you have to do that yourself. And I'm sure it makes sense to you that you have to write the correct formulas for each compound, or there's no way that you're going to be able to balance it. So question A, we have sodium hydroxide plus sulfuric acid produces sodium sulfate plus water. For every one of these compounds written out as its name, we have to give the correct skeleton formula. Sodium hydroxide is an ionic compound made from sodium and hydroxide. Sodium is NH positive and hydroxide is OH negative. So it only takes one of each of them to make the balanced formula. It's NaOH. Now, sulfuric acid, being an acid, requires the use of the acid rules to come up with the formula. It's an acid, so we know it has hydrogen in it. The acid's name is sulfuric, which ends in ic, so the original anion is sulfate, which is SO4. And SO4 is a negative 2 charged anion, so it takes 2 hydrogens to be a positive 2. It's H2SO4. Next one, sodium sulfate. That contains the sodium ion, Na positive, and sulfate. Sulfate was SO4, 2 negative. We had that anion in our sulfuric acid. So because that's negative 2, it's going to require 2 sodiums to create a balanced formula. It's Na2SO4. And then water, hopefully you know, is H2O. Once you have written those compounds down, that's your skeleton equation. And you'll notice that when I wrote it, I purposefully left space in front of each compound, expecting that I might need to fill in coefficient numbers. So now we're ready to balance it. On the left side, there's 1 Na, but on the right side, there's 2 Nas. We can fix that by putting a 2 in front. As soon as we do that, that also makes 2 OHs, or 2 hydroxides. Over on the right side, notice here in the water formula, we have 2 H's and 1 O. We have a HOH, an alternate way to write H2O. HOH only has 1 OH in it. Over on the left side, remember, we had 2 OHs. So I think we're going to need to have a 2 in front of that water. Okay, now let's take a look at our hydrogens here. H2, 2 hydrogens. Over here, remember how we were thinking of H2O as HOH and how we had said we want to have 2 of them? There's our 2 hydrogens, right? The 2 in front, the H right there, that's our 2 hydrogens, separate from the 2 OH, which is the 2 hydroxides. Then we have our SO4, and over on this side, also an SO4. So it is balanced simply by writing the 2 out at the front and the 2 in front of the H2O. That was a tricky problem because we're not used to having to think of H2O in its ionic formula version of HOH. Okay, question B, we have nickel plus silver nitrate produces silver plus nickel nitrate. Our first step is to write the formulas for those compounds. This is just pure nickel, so that's Ni. Now, silver nitrate is an ionic compound. It contains the silver cation, Ag positive, and the nitrate anion. Nitrate is NO3 negative. That's a positive 1, that's a negative 1, so it only takes 1 of each when you make the formula down here. Okay, now on the product side, this is just pure silver, so that's Ag. Now we have nickel 2 nitrate. Nickel 2 is Ni with a positive 2 charge in the corner. Nitrate was NO3 with a negative 1. Those aren't balanced. It's going to take 2 nitrates to go with 1 nickel. So notice in the skeleton equation, I wrote Ni, NO3, 2 to indicate it takes 2 nitrates to go with the 1 nickel. Again, if you don't write these compound formulas correctly, then none of the work that you try with the coefficients is going to matter because you're never going to get the right answer at the end. Okay, now we're ready for the coefficients. There's one nickel here, one nickel here. That looks fine. There's one Ag here, one Ag here. That looks fine. There's one nitrate, but over on this side, two nitrates. So to fix that, we need a 2 in front. But that makes 2 silvers, so we need a 2 in front of that silver. Now it's all balanced.